Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Clay's Counsel here. I'm your host, Clay D, the one and only. And today I have on Mr. Andrew Wise from the Podfest Expo. So thank you for joining us, Andrew. And could you just tell the audience who you are and what you're about and who you represent and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so hey everyone, my name is Andrew Weiss. I'm the Director of Partnerships for PodFest. I've been with the team for 5 years now, and we just got done hosting our 11th year anniversary of PodFest Expo in 2025. And we're super excited to bring thousands of podcasters and content creators from around the world together to teach them more about growing and monetizing their show. And we're excited for the expansion of the brand, and we see where PodFest goes next few years.
That's wonderful. Now, I wasn't able to make it there in person this year, unfortunately. But could you just tell the audience just kind of highlight what were the big takeaways and what were the what basically what were the main events and that you could share with us that took on?
Yeah, so we had a few major events. So at each of our events, we always have a lot of tracks to choose from. And one of the things that we pride ourselves at a PodFest event is bringing together independent podcasters and creators who want to learn how to grow and monetize their brand. And we always give them like some of the best speakers. I don't know about you, Clay, but I've been to a lot of conferences and events where it feels like it's just a pitch fest where speakers
Yeah.
just go on stage, talk about themselves, and you just hear pitch after pitch after pitch. At Podfest, we pride ourselves on making sure we bring in speakers who give lots of value, go above and beyond to make sure that the audience gets the knowledge they need to be successful and grow their brand. So our monetization track, our artificial intelligence track, our audience growth track, those were all packed for pretty much every session every day. And for our opening keynote, we had John Lee Dumas and Kate Erickson Dumas of Entrepreneurs on Fire. They're one of the largest, most profitable podcasters on the planet Earth, and it's awesome to hear their story. Our closing keynote was Roberto Blake. He has over 650,000 subscribers on YouTube, and he gave a lot of insights on how to monetize your brand. We had a filled out expo hall with over 50 brands. We hosted the Podcast Hall of Fame ceremony again. So it's definitely a very, very eventful experience to say the least.
That's wonderful. Now, obviously, you've been with the Podfest Expo for quite some time. What changes do you notice in the last 2 or 3 years, especially with the growth of this popular medium now? I mean, obviously, it went from being very nichified even in the earlier days and such, but even going back a few years, if you can kind of just examine what's been going on. It seems like everybody has a podcast now, just all around. So, what are your thoughts on that? And do you see podcasting becoming a more mainstream media just all and throughout? And what changes stand out to you the most within the last 2 or 3 years in this space?
I'll try and answer one thing at a time. I mean, as far as Podfest goes, we definitely do our best to expand and get better each year, from improving our registration system to adding an editor's room, an editor's track, to making sure our VIP ticket holders get very VIP level service and experiences. And we also, our top complaint from 2024 was the hotel experience. So we're like, okay, fine, we'll get a very better higher end hotel. We hosted at the Renaissance Orlando at SeaWorld this last year. People love that hotel because it's like this beautiful, newly renovated building with like an atrium in the middle. People can hang out and connect with each other. And we're actually going to be back at that same hotel in 2026, January 15th to the 18th. So excited about that. And yeah, as far as the podcasting space, I mean, what I tell people is that if you don't have a podcast, you're definitely missing out, because we're in the age of like people constantly reaching out to others, wanting to connect, wanting to do virtual coffees, wanting to build relationships. But it's very difficult to get people's attention with cold messages, cold calls. But if you have a podcast and you invite people on your show, people love talking about themselves. And so it's a lot easier to like bring people on your show, build that relationship, give them a sense of your interview skills and hosting skills. And so I highly recommend that everyone start a podcast for their brand, for their business. It gets you experience with speaking, with connecting with others. And I definitely see the podcast industry continue to grow and evolve. And that's why we went from about, 30-ish vendor in 2024 to over 50 vendors in 2025. That's just vendors in the expo hall, not including our sponsors, not including our microcons. And what's awesome about PodFest too is we have these little microcon events Like, for example, we have Christian Creators Con and Dental Pod Fest, where those attendees go to learn more about growing their brands in those categories, but then they also get to attend the Pod Fest event. They're planning to come back in 2026 as well. So yeah, it's a very exciting space to be in, very exciting event to be part of. Glad to be part of the team and helping to impact creators and brands around the world, and it's been fun.
Appreciate you answering all those for me there. Recently, the White House press team announced that they're now allowing podcasters to basically cover the basically White House press briefings and such. Not
Yeah.
into the political aspect of that, but what are your thoughts on that in general? That basically you have the biggest office in the land, basically allowing podcasters to essentially be involved in those spaces over legacy media.
I mean, if that doesn't tell you the importance of podcasting, I don't I don't know what else does. Just like obviously, yeah. I mean, as an American citizen, I'm very much an advocate for our First Amendment for the right to free speech. And that's the beauty of podcasting is, the country, the world has seen a lot of censorship over the last few years. But one of the things that they haven't been able to have much of an impact on when it comes to censorship is podcasts and podcasting. And so even before, it was cool to invite podcasters to, White House media opportunities. Having a podcast still would allow you to have that space to talk about whatever you want, essentially. And that's the beauty of the podcasting industry too, is that you don't have like these big CEOs who get to decide whether or not that your opinion matters or whether your podcast is legit enough to be broadcasted. Like the public gets to decide whether they want to listen to you or not. So I definitely I love that decision. It encourages free speech, and I hope that decision gets maintained for a long period of time.
Gotcha. Appreciate that there. Now, can you just share the audience your journey and how you got into the podcasting world, especially your involvement with Podfest? What's the origin story surrounding that? You and yourself and how you got into basically be involved with all of this.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know how far back you want me to go, but I essentially grew up in an entrepreneur household, and so I've always been a fan of entrepreneurship and problem solving and innovation. Uh, and then essentially I joined a Toastmasters in college to increase my public speaking skills. Um, and then from there, I helped a nonprofit grow from, we helped teach top professional skills to high school students over the summer. And so I learned how to help people with professional development and growth and scaling a company essentially with the nonprofit. Then in 2019, I just decided I wanted to do my own thing. And so I quit everything cold turkey and started my own coaching business on business and sales coaching. And that inspired me to launch an event called Fight the Fluff in 2020. And based on the success of that event, I got introduced by one of the speakers to Chris Krimitsos, the founder of PodFest, to help him break a Guinness World Record in August 2020 for world's largest virtual podcasting event in 1 week. And that was super awesome, helping Chris go from 2,000 attendees to over 5,000 people joining us in August 2020. And then we rebroke that record in 2021.
Nice.
And so part of being part of the PodFest team, we are kind of we do have to wear a lot of hats. So I was helping with marketing, with operations, with sales strategies, and just like learning how to grow and scale the company. It's been awesome to yeah, go to. We were officially at pre-pandemic numbers, which is a very difficult thing to get back to post-pandemic. But we get to say we're the world's largest continuous in-person podcasting event. And we love those bragging rights. And I love being part of the team and helping things grow accordingly.
Perfect. I love to hear that. Now, with the onset of AI, I like to say that AI and podcasting are basically are almost in the identical ways experiencing the same type of exponential growth, almost at the same time in a concurrent fashion. How has AI really just changed or even pole vaulted podcasting to new heights from your observation?
Yeah, I mean, I love one of my favorite AI tools is CastMagic. For those who haven't checked that one out, do CastMagic.ai or CastMagic.io, and obviously there's a lot of similar podcasting tools out there that I enjoy. But the beauty of AI is there's new tools coming out every single day that makes podcasting easier for people. There's Podpage that will automatically create a website for you for your podcast. There's CastMagic. There's OpusClip that will automatically create video clips from your podcast as well. And so it's our responsibility to keep learning and looking out for all the new tools and resources and AI technologies out there that can make your life easier when it comes to the podcast space. Because yes, podcasting does take some time. If you're doing everything by yourself, you have to book the call, you have to record the call, you have to edit the call, you have to market the call and then promote the call. And so with all these new AI technologies trying to make everything easier for you, I definitely recommend taking advantage of them. And just going back to like everyone should have a podcast or get involved in it in some capacity because of all the benefits that comes from it.
Well, yeah, I definitely agree with you there, especially speaking for my own self. What other tools besides CastMagic would you just recommend to podcasters, like myself in this space out there who are trying to have a simple process? Because a lot of times I believe a lot of folks get bottlenecked in the whole process because it's fun when you first say I want to have a podcast, but the reality is that it's probably more work. I can speak for myself here, more work than it seems like, at least when you're conceptualizing it. So what other tools besides Cast Magic, just for our viewers to take note of who can benefit from that if they want to start their own podcast, or if they already have one, but they want to keep on growing it and not get discouraged by the tedious work that's involved?
Yeah, so I mean, everyone has their own systems and of how they go about automating things. Mark Savant, he has a great job talking about how he uses Zapier and Google Forms to help with that, and how he uses ChatGPT to help create questions for the interview and things like that. I personally like Perplexity.ai because it's like a free version of ChatGPT, and they're awesome. But yeah, so as far as what I do to run my own podcast is I use something called EliteTwo, ALITU.com, and hopefully they can be a sponsor of PodFest at some point. But I love EliteTwo because essentially all you have to do is up. So yeah, I use EliteTwo, CastMagic, and then OpusClip. So what I do is I take the raw recording of I do a live stream show too. So when I go live, I go on live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube at the same time. I basically just take that raw audio, put it into EliteTwo. It automatically helps level up the audio to make sure things are sounding okay throughout the experience. And then they have a drag and drop feature where you can just drag in your intro, drag in your outro, call it good. And then essentially, when it comes to the show notes and description, you upload the raw file to CastMagic, and then CastMagic automatically helps create the show notes by like putting in quotes and having recommended links you have to do on your own, but it still does a good job providing summaries of the podcast and timestamps so people can review that as well. But yeah, it's essentially my process is uploading things to EliteTwo and CastMagic and then publishing from there.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Andrew. And what do you see the future of podcasting being for the rest of 2025 and even 2026? What predictions do you see on the horizon?
Oh man, I mean, I definitely see more money going into the industry and more sponsors wanting to sponsor the podcasting industry as they recognize like, oh, if I am selling gardening supplies and I want to sell this new rake or this new lawnmower or something, do I spend $10,000 and cross my fingers that the right people will see it on local television, or do I spend money on a gardening podcast or the audience is literally gardeners and people are always looking for the newest tools and resources to help their gardening experience. So I think more and more people are starting to recognize the importance of having targeted outcomes with the podcast that you want to be part of. And then other predictions too, video people more video is always encouraged when it comes to podcasting space because people want to see clips of people talking, and you can use AI to create footage for that if easier as well. And so yeah, just like keep staying consistent, keep creating content, keep growing and evolving it wherever you can.
Wonderful. Now, as far as the Podfest Expo itself, of what events are going to be taking place throughout the rest of 2025, if any, that folks can be aware of?
Yeah, so we'll actually go into Asia again in March 31st and April 1st, 2025. We'll be in the Philippines, in the capital city there. And so we're super excited to be going back to Asia for the second time, PodFest Asia. In August, we're hosting VidFest Expo. So for everyone interested in video and YouTube, that content creation, you could join us in Atlanta in August. And then, yeah, we do various pod tours throughout the country as well. We host local podcasting meetups throughout the country there. And then, yeah, our next 12th anniversary event. I know our last one just happened in January, but our next 12th anniversary event will be January 15th, 18th, 2026. So those are the next 3 or 4 big podcast events.
When is the VidFest event in Atlanta? Do you have the dates on those?
Yeah, I think it's August 21st to 23rd, that whatever that weekend is.
Okay. Gotcha. Appreciate that. I'm gonna put that in my own
Yeah,
calendar. But that
definitely.
does it for me, Andrew. We're coming up on the hour, but thank you for both taking and make the time to join with me and recapping Podfest and everything that's going to be just taking place down the road, and good connecting with you again.
Well, this has been fun. Thanks for hosting. Appreciate it.
Definitely. Well, thank you, Andrew. And for everyone, thank you for joining us again for another edition of Clay's Council. We'll see you later.